All right. Welcome back to the Board Drill Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Bradburn, and with me is my co-host, Matt Dixon. Tonight, we have a very special guest. We have Coach Chris Ortiz from the Kaiser University. I don't even know. What is the mascot over there?
It's with the Seahawks now.
The Kaiser University Seahawks. I wasn't really too worried about the mascot because what I was looking at was you guys winning a national championship, and that was the important part, Coach, and that's how I wanted to introduce you as the champions, correct?
Absolutely. 6 years into this thing, and we're the national champions. So it's a great job by our kids. It's a great job by our staff. So
it's fantastic. So Coach is the wide receivers coach and pass game coordinator. He's in his 5th season with the Kaiser staff. He has been kind of all over the mark at several different places, all the way even back to the University of Miami in the Manny Diaz days. So, Coach, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you on.
No, I'm excited to be a part of this thing today.
It's our fancy soundboard that is not that fancy. So tonight is our second guest in Cruton Week. So it is Cruton Week here on the Board Drill Podcast. We're talking recruiting all week long. And so we're really, Coach, where we start off with is your yearly schedule, because we can go into all these questions, but a lot of people are just wondering at your level, at the NAIA level, how does a year shake out for recruiting you guys? And just start wherever you feel like, Coach, and let's do a calendar year real quick.
I mean, honestly, for the NAIA, it's a contact period year-round, 24/7. It's not like the NCAA where you have the dead periods, the non-contact periods, accidental bumps. It's 24/7. We can contact you whenever, and doesn't matter, whether you're a senior or whether you're an 8th grader. There can be contact between us, obviously. The one thing for us here at Kaiser, being in South Florida, we're very fortunate. There's things that are going on constantly. This past Saturday, we're at a 7-on-7 down in Broward. This upcoming Saturday, there's going to be a top 561 showcase going on. So the really for us at Kaiser say that, hey, it starts on a certain date. For us, it's a year-round cycle. Funny story for you guys. We win the national championship. We fly back in that night, that Monday night. Literally 24 hours later, me, our now head coach, Coach Russ, and a couple of our other coaches, we went to the Palm Beach County All-Star game the following day after winning the national championship. So anytime there's anything for our staff to be around and evaluate guys and, have a hands-on experience with these student athletes, we're definitely going to do that. And then when it comes to actually, recruiting and hitting the road, I would say we're very similar to the NCAA in that standpoint of, using the month of April, using the month of May. Same thing with the month of January and December. You'll see us out, but there's nothing in the rules that state that, hey, we can't go out on a random August day to your local high school.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's kind of a unique thing in being the NAIA as opposed to the NCAA. And additionally, that's a really cool piece. I imagine here in the next week, you're going to be out on the road because we got spring football starting here in Florida. So it's usually kind of that hotbed time of season, correct?
We already started last week. Last week, we sent a couple guys out to the Heartland area. So like that Sebring area down to the Muck, myself and one of our graduate assistants, we went up to Brevard County and recruited the lower half of Brevard. And then this week, we're going to go ahead and blitz Palm Beach County as a staff. So it's already got started for us.
So there you are. So if you're listening, maybe you've already bumped into Coach, but hopefully if you did, you had a great experience and you guys talk some good football. So Coach, the big thing we always get asked from coaches and college coaches, and we try to match this up, is the prospect sheet that a college or that a high school coach gives you. What needs to go on that sheet? What helps you? What's the most important aspect of that sheet when they hand that to you when you walk in the door?
The funny thing is this year, kind of, taking over recruiting now for Kaiser, I'm trying to avoid the hitting the door, let me get your prospect sheet. Having that ahead of time, and it would shock you guys how many guys don't have a prospect sheet, prepared and ready ahead of time.
Wow.
Our big thing is, hey, let's go ahead and evaluate, can these guys play for us, number one? Okay, great, they can play for us. What's the gettability? Are they a P4 kid? Are they a group of 5 kid? In this day and age, honestly, even some of these kids with group of 5 offers, as you guys know, the offer's not committable sometimes, right? So just you can't be scared to shoot your shot at that guy. So just because he's talented, hey, let's go ahead and get our offer out there. And then, the next thing at the NAIA level, I don't know if I'm going ahead of myself or not, but the structure of
No.
it, when it comes to the GPAs, right, for these kids, NAIA, it's 24 full scholarships, right?
Yep.
At the end of the day, when we hit the field, think of it almost like a salary cap for the NFL, right? Let's use the number 10. At the end of the day, each kid, however much, let's say their GPA, let's say he's a 3.3 to a 3.59, whatever his athletic scholarship is, that gets cut in half. So if he was a 60% kid, let's say he was getting 6 out of 10 on the athletic scholarship, that kid now ends up becoming a 30%er. So basically 3 out of 10 because of what his GPA was. If he's a 3.6 to a 4.0, now he is a 0%er. He does not affect us on the books when we go ahead and we play whoever we're playing on the field. So out of those 24 scholarships, that kid has no bearing weight on the field against the books or against the salary cap because of that GPA. So can he play? And then big thing for us is GPA because, obviously lowering the cost for his package. And then, once again, for the salary cap aspect of making sure we can put the best team out on the football field, those 0%ers. We call them America's elite because, hey, they allow us to be able to get some really good other talented players in the mix who you probably wouldn't get the opportunity to if it wasn't for those guys with that 3.6 to 4.0 GPA.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And, we talk to kids about this all the time. I used to work in recruiting at Florida State. Matt's been around it forever. You have these kids out there, and I'm like, listen, if you're comfortable with another player at your position and he's got a higher GPA, that school's probably going to take him. I'm just letting you know now because he's less of a risk, right? If you're the same as another wide receiver, height, weight, pretty close 40 time, and they like you both, you got a 3.7, he's got a 2.9, they're taking a 3.7 almost every time. And so we try to always communicate that with kids when they were in the classroom and everything. It's like, just, make sure you're setting yourself aside in every way possible in recruiting because it is important. You guys evaluate everything because at the end of the day, right, it affects your life. It affects, your family and everything else, coach. So such a good point there on the GPA. Let's move into camps. Do you guys have a camp on your campus or do you guys kind of go the super camp circuit?
No, we actually do a lot of things on our campus. Starting off this year for the camp circuit of 2024, the 31st, we're going to have a Friday Night Lights showcase. That's going to be more of your traditional camp, height, weight, 40, shuttle, long jump. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and do what we call, our merry-go-round. Let's just put you through generic football drills. Maybe it's running the hoop. Can you bend? Um, maybe it's just doing the cone drill. Hey, we'll go ahead and watch this guy cut. Before we get into position-specific drills. And then after that, let's see you compete. I mean, honestly, the alpha dog shows up in competition, right? If you're a go-getter and you're that guy, I'm going to see you hop up in that line at least, 10 to 15 times in a one-on-one. And, you're going to make your presence felt. And, I love watching guys compete, and especially down here in South Florida, you get to see these kids, run around, talk, and just have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure, Coach, it definitely helps you guys in the recruiting process to get kids down there to West Palm Beach, let them see the city, let them see the area, and let them see where they'd be living.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I think the other thing now, kind of heading back to some of more of our camps, we have our team camp. That's June 13th, 14th, 15th. Right now, we have 15 teams that are registered from the state of Florida. You've got Mainland, who's a state champion. We
Yep.
have the West Coast, East Lake, who's been coming from years, East Lee. We have South Dade coming, Barbara Goldman. And this right here for us, it's an incredible opportunity for these teams and these programs to work on their craft and get more spring practices, if you look at it that way, or extra fall camp practices before their season. But that's 6 practices of our staff being able to watch teams get after it and evaluate guys. And the other thing is we film it for those guys. So it's in our system. We're sharing the film with you guys. So it's
Yeah.
another evaluation period for those players. And we've been able in the past to be able to get some guys because of team camp who, for whatever reason, they weren't evaluated before that period or in the spring, but they show up to team camp and they're lighting it up. So that's another good tool for us in our camp world. The next thing that we do is we partner with ESPN West Palm, and we have a 7-on-7 tournament that takes place over here between Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast schools. For me personally, I know I found two phenomenal receivers in this 2024 class that I'm excited about, who before the 7-on-7, I just thought they were okay players, but midway during the 7-on-7, I'm telling our staff, these guys are going to be guys for us. We got to go after them. And that really opened up my eyes. And then the last thing that we do from a camp standpoint here at Kaiser is we have these individual camps. The one that me and Coach Knock and our offensive coordinator do is our quarterback receiver academy. Now we get to take those guys in the classroom, put things on the board, install with these guys. How well can you retain information that we're giving you here in the classroom? We're going to go ahead, talk about some of our drill work, crank our drill work out. Then after that, then we're going to do a walkthrough, piece it together. Coach Mickey, our defensive back coach, he's going to have his install with the DBs at his ball hawk camp. And then from there, we actually get to run our offense against our defense. And it's a good way to be able to see, hey, which one of these kids can retain things a little bit faster and translate it on the field. And, which one of these guys, hey, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. We're going to have an investment in this individual just because, for whatever reason, it just might not click.
Yeah. So in those camps that you just talked about, you listed out, a lot of camps that you guys have either on your campus or near it. How important is it for you to see a guy in person at some of those camps?
Once again, for me, it's stinking huge just because, how fast are you? If you don't have a track time, we have track standards, right? If you don't hit a track standard and you're a bigger guy, like this one guy who we signed in our class, Fort Pierce Central, I knew he was every bit of 6'3", but to actually be able to see him run and eat up ground in person, to see his body control in that 7-on-7, it was huge for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes so much sense. Obviously, seeing film is great. Seeing a guy in person is a whole different thing. There's a lot of guys who I knew were really good on film, and then I saw them in person. I went, oh yeah, that's it right there. So let's kind of talk about recruits that you guys bring in. Do you guys look? I'm gonna kind of ask a broad question here, and I apologize for it. It's a little loaded, but really, besides I get the size and weight and quickness and everything. What are you guys looking for in an ideal recruit coming to Kaiser? What are some of those intangibles?
I think immediately the character standpoint, our thing that we talk about here is grit. We want to make sure that, first off, he's a genuine, human being. We want to make sure he's respectful. I really love whenever you can go into a school and ask the janitor or the secretary or the lunch lady, hey, what do you think about this kid? How is he as a human being? Oh, he's a respectful kid. That's great. That's right up our alley. Innovative. I feel like you kind of get to see that a little bit more as you recruit the kid. How innovative is he? How much of a thinker is he when it comes to football? And then we want to make sure that he's trustworthy. And I think that right there is kind of, as the recruiting process kind of maturates itself, you find out, how trustworthy is this kid whenever, hey, the OV's at this time, and the kid's 15 minutes earlier. Hey, I need you to fill out this application for the school. Well, as soon as you sent it, he fills out the application for the school. So during that process right there, we find out how trustworthy he is. The rest of it right there, it's off of the position coach. For me, I would love receivers with length, and guys who can go up and go compete and win one-on-one balls. Or I'd like a smaller receiver who's running, an 11-2-1 in the 100 meters. Coach Knockins going to want a guy at quarterback who the ball is going to come off his hand good. Our running back coach, Coach Wake, there's certain type of running backs he's looking for, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure they fit our grit culture before we kind of move on to the athletic measurables of the student athlete.
Grit.
Coach,
I love it.
I knew you
Right down
said
my alley.
grit, and my eyes lighted up, and I pointed over to Matt. Matt loves it. He used grit as his motto. Obviously, we know Dan Campbell and the Lions use it. So again, a thing that I've seen resurfacing with a lot of successful teams. So there may be something there, coaches that are listening. Maybe something's there with the grit term. Let's talk a little bit about social media, Coach. Twitter. We know it's this tool that everyone uses. We know sometimes it's a little overblown. Two things. A, how do you guys use Twitter? And then the second thing is, how should a student athlete set up their Twitter for you guys to be able to contact and find them?
Well, the answer to that first question for us, Twitter is a huge resource, right? It shows our brand of grit, obviously, but it shows our brand of Kaiser, right? West Palm Beach. What a great location to live here in Palm Beach County. There's so many resources of individuals of wealth that you could tap into. It's awesome to be able to live in a place where, the median weather year round is at 83 to 84 degrees. The pristine beaches, things to go to around that are, popping off downtown West Palm. So for us, it
20 minutes later.
All right. We apologize for that. We got cut off with Coach, a little technical difficulties, but we are back. So we're going to continue with our Twitter questions. And Coach, we were kind of talking a little bit about Twitter and how valuable it is to you. And my next question is really how should a prospect reach out to you on Twitter if they want to get you their film?
Honestly, I think the first part of it is, how can I find you on Twitter?
Probably a better way, right?
For the most part, some of these guys have, Lil Bruh 4955 or, guns up, this or that. I think the easiest way is, hey, your name underscore last name or vice versa. And then from there, following us. I know for me personally at night, that's kind of the time I go through my Twitter. I check my DMs. I check the new follows. Because I'll be honest with you guys, that's where some of the best diamonds in the roughs I've ever found has been, hey, through an email or through Twitter, where if I just sat there and let it sit in the DM, hey, you never know about little Johnny or anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's such an important piece. Obviously, with today, we have Huddle and all these other ways to get in contact with people. It's not like the old days. I tell people all the time, there's not too many people that just fall through the cracks too often. And I mean all the way through and don't get any offers to play in college. Coaches are able to find you now, but it's important, like you said, have your first name, last name, maybe your graduating class, maybe your highlight link, whatever coaches are looking for, and reach out. It can't hurt you. The worst thing you're going to do is not get a response.
Absolutely. Yeah. Be persistent. How bad do you want this thing? I promise you, for the guy who's not checking his Twitter, I promise you that if you're persistent, sooner or later, he's going to keep seeing that pop up, and he's going to go, okay, let's just see this guy,
But that's like anything in life, right? At some point,
Absolutely.
People got to go after jobs. They got to do everything. And heck, that's how we get guests on this podcast. You know how persistent I've had to be with these college coaches to get them on for recruiting week. Some of them are probably cursing my name right now. So it's been a great thing. Matt, I know you had a few questions that are pretty vital here.
Coach, let's say kid gets your attention, you watch the film, you like what you see. What is that process from then going to look like to that kid or to that high school head coach? What are they going to see from you guys?
The first thing for us in the recruiting process, area coach will collect let's just use area coach will collect the 25 sheet right now is what's going on, right? From there, then we have Coach Hunter, who works in recruiting for us, and Coach Burke. They'll go ahead and scan through those 25 lists and kind of filter it for the area coach. From there, area coach will go ahead and watch and eval the kid and then pass it on to the position coach. Once the position coach watches it, from there we have a grading system. Okay, is he a big money guy? If he was a local kid, is he a Palm Beach County guy? Is he a mid-scholarly guy or low scholarship guy or a walk-on? Just once again, just talking in the realm of NAIA football. Walk-ons are important, right? Going back to that percentage. If the guy is 0%, when he hits the field because he's getting zero athletic aid, if he becomes a ball player, it could help out on special teams. That doesn't affect the cap. So there is a world of walk-ons for us that help out our program. Then after that, then the coordinator would go ahead and watch the student athlete, followed by Coach Russ, our head coach. When by the time Coach Russ gets involved, honestly, it's, hey, what percentage tag are we going to go ahead and tack on this kid? Now, for us as a staff, how do we handle that? The actual recruiting process of it. I know for me at receiver, if you hit certain standards that I'm looking for, maybe there's a certain height, maybe once again, track times. I am telling you, track times for us is huge.
Milesplit.com, baby.
When I got back here in 2023, our DC from last year, Coach Owens, Robbie Owens, he had said, hey, look, we're so behind on our track speeds kind of going through these guys. I mean, me at the receiver room, I only had one guy at one point who was running under an 11.3. So with that being said, if you can run, I highly recommend run track because it answers every question that somebody has about your speed. If you long jump, if you high jump, there's a kid that we signed from Orlando this year from Dr. Phillips, explosive. Hey,
yeah.
He might be right there on the cusp of the track times, but his long jump and high jump numbers were explosive. So
correct.
If you hit all those for me, I immediately reach out to your head coach or your recruiting coordinator, let them know that, hey, we're going to go ahead and offer the student athlete. And then from there, it's, hey, I'm going to develop a relationship with the student athlete, with the parents. And I want you to know more than just, hey, about Kaiser and what we offer and the location and about our brand of football that we play. But I want to see what makes you tick. And at the same time, I want you to understand what makes me tick. And, for whatever reason it is, I got a chip on my shoulder. I want to make sure I recruit guys who have a chip on their shoulder as well. I want you my persona as well,
Yeah,
Coach,
no
you said
doubt.
a very important thing there. You mentioned the P word, parents, right? That's huge in this recruiting process. And a lot of parents, I'd assume, aren't sure what NAIA football is, right? When you get to meet them, when you see them. Can you kind of explain for our younger coaches or our coaches that may not have dealt with an NAIA school before, kind of the differences between the typical NCAA program and an NAIA program?
Yeah, no, obviously FBS football, right? 85 scholarships for 85. You can't split those bad boys up, right? FCS football, it's been a good little minute. I'm trying to think. Last time I was
63, I believe.
Correct, 63. You can split those bad boys up, right? When I was at McNeese, in-state kids and Texas kids, those guys always had priority for us because we could divvy up those scholarships a little bit easier.
Yep.
D2, 36 or 39, you guys
somewhere in there, yeah.
you're going to have to check me on that. But once again, you can divvy those up. Division 3, no athletic aid, right?
Yep.
All academic based. And then, with that being said, there's one conference in FCS football, the Pioneer League. They kind of operate off of that same structure, off of academic aid. And then NAIA, going back to it, it's 24 scholarships. But unlike the NCAA, where it's a dollar amount attached to you, it's a percentage attached to you, right? The institution has its own money that it can spend. Let's just say the pot of gold they're giving you, and the one we'll talk about it's 100,000, or let's say 100, and we're working off of the tens, right?
Yeah.
Your percentage at the end of the day, a 60 and a 40. If I have two guys who are right there, that equals one scholarship on the field right there. I have to get to 24 in the cap. So there's athletic money. There's academic aid, there's state aid, right? If you're a Florida kid, you can get Florida prepay if your parents have put into that. You get the FRAG or the EASE grant. I think they call it the EASE grant now. It's $2,800 just for being a resident in the state of Florida, as well as whatever you receive for FAFSA. And then, the typical Stafford $5,500 subsidized student loan as well that gets packaged in there. It's the same thing with us in D2. Like I said, just the structure model. It's just D2's working off of a whole number for their scholarships. We're working off a percentage of getting to 24. That's why, once again, if you are that America's Elite 3.6 to a 4.0, you are getting more money. because you are helping the program and helping yourself. Your scholarship doesn't cost anything against the cap. Maybe teammate, I don't know, little Johnny might have a 2-3 in the class, but little Johnny is a baller on the field. Well, because of you taking care of your business, we can go ahead and put you on the field. You don't cost us a dime. We can now add little Johnny's 70% scholarship and get him on the field then. So that right there in a nutshell, I would say is the biggest difference between NAIA and the NCAA. But listen, ball players are ball players. I don't know if you guys have seen, we had a kid by the name of Wendell Feelord who was a 3-time All-American here at Kaiser as a DB. As a returner, he was a freak as well. The kid ends up graduating, winning the national championship, and is now on full scholarship at FAU.
Yeah.
We're in the semifinals game. We're playing against a bounce back from Boise State. They had 3 bounce backs from Boise State at the College of Idaho. So the talent is the talent. I mean, there's some freaks. I know in 2022 when they played Bethel in the quarterfinal game, there was a defensive lineman from the University of Tennessee. So the talent's there. It's just scholarship structure is just a little bit different than the NCAA.
Coach, I don't know if I've heard anyone ever give me a better breakdown of all the versions of college football right there. So we definitely have to clip that right there. That's a great segment right there. I love it. Every bit about that was the great elevator pitch right there. So Coach, I always ask this fun question, you know, when you guys get to, or actually let me ask this first. How do you guys do kind of visits on campus? You know, do you guys have like official and unofficial? You know, how does that work?
Oh
with
yeah,
you guys?
oh yeah, we do. So for unofficials, you know, your typical game day one. This year, obviously, just kind of how I'm envisioning it, we'll get those guys in before we start our pregame. Obviously, we'll put them in the auditorium. While those guys are waiting on us, we'll go ahead and probably put the national championship game on. Let those guys re-envision it. Let those guys see the product that we're envisioning to put on the field every Saturday. From there, then we introduce our coaches. We'll give an overview of our program. Let our head coach speak to those guys. From there, then we go ahead and we bring them to our football facility. We'll have a backdrop, you know, jersey, photo shoot. The really cool thing at the NAIA is, and you guys, Coach, you might know how this goes, but when you go to an NCAA institution, let's say you're going to the University of Miami, they bring you up to Club Live. Well, geez, I'm having to pay $15 or $20 for the all-you-can-eat buffet at Club Live, right? Because I can't give you anything. I mean,
Correct.
if I'm not mistaken, just a few years ago, right, it was bottled water they could finally give you. But here at Kaiser in the NAIA, what we do is, hey, come on, you're down on the field, you're watching warm-ups after you've kind of got the tour and taking your picture with the jersey on. We're giving those guys a hot dog and fries and, you know, a drink. They're getting a meal out of us on our dime right there. Literally, you're on the field right there pregame. Hey, our cafeteria services come out there and hey, hamburger. Do you want a hot dog? I think one time they gave them a chicken fried steak plate and said, "Hey, here you go, right there on the sideline. Eat it up and watch us do our pregame warm up." Really neat what we do over here for official visits, in my opinion. So think about this, and I don't know how many official visits you guys may have went with your student athletes, but you get there Friday, right? Friday introductions spiel, you know, you get the whole entire culture spiel. The kids go out. There's maybe a function for the parents and coaches. That Saturday, academics, meet this person in athletics, meet the trainer, campus tour, the whole shebang. Then you kind of redo a dinner then that night. Then Sunday, you wake up. You got to wait on the head coach for a spill. Commit? Is he not going to commit? Now I got to talk to the staff. Now I'm waiting at the hotel. For us, we bring those guys in on Saturday and we tell them, hey, check in is going to be at 9:00. From there, we do a round robin circuit with those guys and we crank out everything we need to do, you know, within that 3-day period that you would normally do, which by the way, as a coach being in that thing, you're gassed by the time.
It's brutal.
It's brutal. I'm over here not even wanting to eat pancakes and scrambled eggs at the breakfast on the hotel's dime because I'm just let's just get this over with. Like, hey, we got to get back in the office on Monday and talk this thing all over and rehash. But for us, we do that round robin like I was telling you. We're going to go ahead and crank out picture, your photo shoots, right? The kids are all about the photo shoot, right?
Oh yeah.
They're going to get the campus tour within that. Is kind of how we do it. As we're walking to the facility from the main part of campus, you get to see campus. You get to speak with the head coach, right? So you get your culture one-on-one talk with the head coach. You're going to get to go ahead and talk academics. Our president does a really good job, Dr. Gary Vonk, in stopping by and answering any questions for our parents. You're going to get to do X and O's ball talk, right? So what are we offensively? What are we defensively? The all conference, all Americans, that whole shebang, right? That whole spiel. Then from there, any type of other questions they might have pertaining to their academic degree and who can help those guys out with achieving whatever their goal is. We cranked that all out in one day right there in that round robin. Once we're done with that, we have Top Golf here in West Palm, literally 10 minutes away from campus. Sometimes we're fortunate, sometimes we're not. You pull up sometimes, hey, there's a McLaren parked in the front, right? Lamborghini parked right there. You got the palm trees going. You've got the wind blowing. And it says West Palm Beach right there at the very end of the Drive Shack. And we have a really good deal with Drive Shack. I mean, they do a great job of taking care of Kaiser University athletics. We go there, those kids golf. We get to hang out with them. We have a buffet set up for those guys. You kind of name it, barbecue, burgers. I mean, we even have hummus for the parents right there. Salads, cookies, cake, the whole shebang right there. And it's a good time for the kids to hang out. And then we bring some of our players, and, our players, you can say, pat them down right there. And Coach, I really like this guy. Coach, this guy right here, I don't know how he's going to fit in our locker room. So that in a nutshell is our official visits. We crank it all out. The parents are done by 4:00, and they can go on back to back to their locations that they came from.
Coach, that's awesome. I guy who has a lot of experience. I did it at Florida State for a couple of years. Very different experience that you just described, but you know what? Taking them to a Drive Shack or a Top Golf style place, that's awesome. That's such a cool idea and a fun activity for them to do. I've been through it time and time again. I appreciate what you said about how tired you were. I remember we counted the one year we were in the office 31 straight days between January and February. And it was like, look, I don't even know why I'm going home at this point. Like, there's dust in my apartment. I might as well just sleep in here in the office. So I do remember that feeling. So it's very accurate. If anyone's listening and you don't know, it's accurate.
You definitely know when OV season comes. It's busy. It's for sure.
Coach, that'll wear on you worse than the actual season sometimes.
Ain't that the truth? And then, like I said, once again, you get to rehash everything that we've already spoke about. Once again, it's Coach's program. If Coach if the head man wants to do that, hey, so be it. We're going to rehash and make sure you're comfortable with the student athlete.
Yeah, Coach, the big piece I liked was Saturday night. We always ate a steak dinner at this place in Tallahassee called Marie Livingston's. It's now closed. But all the low-level guys like me that barely anyone knew our name, they'd give us an extra steak to take home. So I always appreciated that.
Ain't that the best thing? Trust me.
So you would get your steak, and then they'd be like, here, take one home. I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go.
Trust me, when I was at the University of Hawaii, you better believe whenever we went to the Hula Grill, us support staff guys, we were eating like kings.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We were watching.
You got to, right? You get very few advantages, and you have to take advantage of every little piece. That's fantastic. So, Coach, what other documents or anything, like you briefly talked about a kid filling out an application, are there any other documents that they need to get filled out as soon as possible if they want to be a part of Kaiser?
The application's really the first thing. Just from a high school standpoint, obviously, we want to make sure and know how much of your package you're going to get, obviously, right? It's kind of crazy. Some of these kids, Coach, I commit, and I'm going to go ahead and commit to you guys. And Coach Dixon, I know you probably remember that right there, of just guys wanting to pull the trigger, and it's like, you're going to pull the trigger. You don't even know what your package is yet. What if your scholarship is $24,000 out of pocket? Is mom and dad going to be excited about that? So, the application tells us a couple things, right? How much academic money are you going to get? Then the next thing I'd say they need to fill out is FAFSA. This year, I get it. FAFSA was late. I think it was.
Yeah, it was crazy this year.
There's guys. It was a mess, right? It was a mess. So filling out your FAFSA, super important, right? Because that Pell right there, it's a big it determines a lot for your package. Is it a lot out of pocket, or is it not? Because you're making up you're full Pell, it's 5,500, right? Or somewhere in that neck of the woods sometimes.
Yep.
So it's a big chunk that has to be made up somewhere. Your frag, you should immediately get that just for being a Florida resident. Your counselor really takes care of that. Florida prepay, your parents are really on top of that right there from the get-go years ago. The next thing really after they fill out those things is your play NAIA, just getting eligible. It's the NAIA clearinghouse right there.
Yeah.
I remember when we started this in 2018, right? We're going to play Pikeville, and we traveled the team, which, by the way, long drive from West Palm to Pikeville.
It is a long drive, yes.
And shoot, the following year we went from West Palm to Iowa. I know I'm not really selling that right now, but it was one of the most memorable trips we've ever had. We get there Friday. We take those kids to a water park that Friday afternoon after a walkthrough, and we get after those guys at Dort. But regardless, both of those trips right there, first game of the season, you're bringing all these guys, and you have about 10 to 12 guys who aren't playing because they did not take care of their NAIA clearinghouse. Play NAIA.
Yeah.
And what you got to realize is it backs up. You're not the only person who's trying to get cleared. They have all these other institutions that are trying to get cleared, or maybe it's a bill that you have somewhere else. Some of these guys will go ahead and take these extra college courses, which, hey, I'm all for. You can go to the local community college and do that, but some of these kids may have a bill left or remaining.
Yeah.
Well, now you got to pay off that bill, and now you have to get back in contact with the community college to get your transcript, because we have to collect every transcript of everywhere you've ever been. So that right there is a huge hiccup. And trust us, we've learned our lesson throughout the years. Right now, with the class of 2024, we are working on getting those guys eligible right now as we speak, because we don't feel like reliving that ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been there. All these things sound so familiar, Coach. So, yeah, this has been fantastic. We rolled through this super quick, which I'm sure everyone appreciates, but super informative. Love everything you said. Matt, do you have any other recruiting questions for Coach?
I don't, man. I don't. It's
Coach
just good to see Coach's face again. It's great. Good to see Coach's face again and coming back as a national champion.
Yeah.
Just
awesome
there's job you guys are doing down there.
Coach, I ask every champion this. Do you guys get the rings yet?
We have not. They should be here within a few weeks. Once again, I think, our former head coach, Coach Sosha, did a phenomenal job with the layout of it. But like you said, the kids helped us win this thing, right? It wasn't just the coaches. We just called the players. They're the ones who got to execute that thing. Let's get in our leaders and let those guys add a couple nice touches to it. And it's going to be a beautiful ring that we're excited to unveil on Twitter and show the world. And it's incredible what this program has done, right, Coach? I think you probably remember when we started this thing, 2018, 6-4, right? A team that only had about, I would say, 95% of the roster was 18-year-old kids, right? 2019, we go undefeated, first time ever, win our first conference championship. Fast forward in the conference championship world, 5-time in a row conference champions, right? 5-time in a row making playoff appearances. Year 5, we go to the national championship, come short. This year in 2023, we make back-to-back national championship appearances and finally get the daggum thing done. So 6 years into it, it's super impressive with what's been created here at Kaiser. And, I'm just being quite frank and quite honest with you guys. It's only getting started right here. This thing is a sleeping giant. And we're only tapping into the very beginning of this thing. I mean, the sky's the limit here. If you guys see the future plans that we have for this place, and more importantly, some of the players that we're getting now, it's crazy. You win a national championship, people out of the woodworks are reaching out and want to be.
The applications go up. We just talked to the D3 national champions last week, and he's like, "Man, applications went up 20%."
I mean, it's crazy. There's some guys before who you're like, geez, man, we, in our wildest dreams, we would have never thought that we would ever have a chance with this guy. There's some freaks that are coming. So, like we said, our biggest thing is, look, at the end of the day, when Alabama's playing in the national championship, it's a super important thing in the Alabama locker room. Well, at South Dakota, same thing. They're playing in the national championship. It's a pretty stinking important thing that's going on over there. It's the same thing here at Kaiser, man. You're playing in a national championship. You have a chance to be a part of back-to-back national championships and attend the national championship 3 consecutive times. a really special thing, and our kids are fired up. Our new staff is ecstatic to get after this thing, and there's been a winning tradition that's been set. We just got to keep on rolling with this thing.
That's a hell of a pitch there to end the episode. Coach, the only thing I'm going to ask you is when you do get your ring, why don't you tweet it at us so we can put that up for you as well on our Board Drill Podcast Twitter.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Twitter, if you want to reach out to Coach is on Twitter. Coach, what is your Twitter handle?
My Twitter's _Ortiz Torres. ORTIZTORRES.
And we will put that at the bottom here in the YouTube description as well. Again, if you want to reach out to us, it's the Board Drill Podcast at gmail.com or at Board Drill Pod on Twitter. Let us know, again, if you want to hear some other topics, if you'd like to talk with me or Matt, or if you have questions for Coach and you're just a little too bashful to share it with them, if you send it to us, we will send it along to Coach. Coach, thank you so much for being on. We appreciate you being here tonight.
Fellas, I appreciate it. Once again, if there's anything we can do for you guys at Kaiser University, you guys reach out to us.